Hello, fans of Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Week 12 is upon us, and the Bears are back to getting ready for a game this week. They play Sunday night. Oh boy, national TV against the Packers. And there is nothing more than I want at this point of the season is for them to beat the Packers. Packers lost yesterday. It's always a good thing. But I don't know. The Packers are beatable. I've seen it. I've seen some weaknesses. So the Bears would have to play an absolutely perfect game. So we'll see. But today's show is not about that game. I'm going to talk about Sunday night's game on Friday's show. Today, I'm going to do a segment on who I think our next Chicago Bears coach should be. My son and I had a discussion about this. I said who I thought it should be, and he's like, "No, you know, he wore out his welcome where he was, this and that, and da da da." And I was like, "Well, I like him, and I'm going to start out with telling you who, and then we're going to talk about him, and then a few other things." So I say, why not? I think the Bears should just hire Chuck Pagano, our defensive coordinator, as our head coach. And before you flip out and disagree with me, and you have a right to do that, of course, this is America, and I believe in your opinions. People can have different opinions than myself, even though mine's right. Anyways, okay, so Chuck's been with us these last 2 years, so he knows the Bears organization. The Bears players know him. And our defense has just been getting better. Now, and the other thing is, Chuck's already coached his first assignment, and that's what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about why I like Chuck, what happened in Indy, and why I'm willing to give him a chance because I'm going to talk about first-time coaches when they've never coached before and they've come to the Bears. Okay, so and let's finish with Chuck. So I like Chuck. You know what? When he was with Indy, he was with Indy 6 seasons, and he had a record of 53-43, which is a winning record. And the reason he got fired was they hadn't gone to the playoffs in his last 3 seasons before he got fired. And that hadn't happened since the 90s. So the owner fired him and the general manager at the same time. But few things. Andrew Luck was there when Chuck was there. And Andrew Luck missed 26 games out of 48 games under Chuck's coaching. And that means they had to have whoever they had backing him up. And that's why they weren't winning. I mean, when you're a star, and Andrew Luck was a star and he should be still playing in the NFL, it's because Indy never had a good offensive line. Sound familiar? And he kept getting hurt. And I don't get it. You have this, if he were with the Bears, I think even the Bears would have made sure we had a good offensive line around him because you got a star, man. This guy was good. He could have been setting records. He just got hurt too much. He got beat the crap when Indy. That's why he quit. So, 26 out of 48 games he didn't play. And then in Chuck's last season with the team in 2017, he had 12 starters were out for the season. And come on, we all know you're not going to win games when your starters aren't out there. Look what's happening to the NFL this year with all the COVID and crazy injuries. Teams they're not being what they should be. And really, they liked Chuck a lot in Indy. It just, the owner's like, listen, man, we are used to winning. Well, sure, because they had Peyton Manning all those years, right? And then they started winning with Andrew, and then they just stopped concentrating on the offensive line, and he got beat to shit. So, I don't know. I like Chuck. He beat cancer. That's a tough guy. And the Bears players like him. The Bears organization likes him. He's already there. It would be somewhat of a seamless transition, and he'd still be overseeing our defense. We'd get a defensive coordinator, but Chuck would really be in charge because let's face it, the Bears are gonna, if they fire Pace and Nagy at the end of this year, which I hope Nagy goes for sure. I want Pace to go too, but for sure Nagy first. Most likely, not too many times. Although Vic Fangio stayed, when a head coach gets fired, they bring in all new coaches, and then we would lose Chuck, and then our defense would have to start over. So this way, Chuck don't have to do that. And Chuck has been there, and he's seen what the issue is. It's offense. So he's smart enough to know. He's seeing George McCaskey's pissed. He's seeing the higher ups are pissed. So he knows I got to hire a good offensive coordinator, and we got to turn this thing around. So Chuck's all the way in. So I say, give it a shot. And this is his second head coaching job. And so he cut his teeth, as people like to say, in Indy. He learned a lot. He had some good players there. He had a great quarterback. So tell me he didn't learn a lot. He did. So I think he'd bring that to us. Now, if he would be a first-time head coach, I'm going to tell you a few statistics about the Bears and hiring a football person when he was never a head coach until he came to the Bears. Pretty much since the 80s, there's only been 2 coaches that they hired that had winning records that were never head coaches before but became a head coach for the first time with the Bears. And the first one is obvious. It's Mike Ditka. And Mike Ditka record was he won 106 games and lost 62. So great record. It took us to a Super Bowl. Should have gone to 2 Super Bowls and won them both. We should have won in 85 and 86. But they were too full of themselves to do it. But Ditka, I know he was the first-time head coach, but he had been coaching in Dallas. He had coached under John Landry in Dallas. And most importantly, he was a Chicago Bear. He was a Chicago Bear in the 60s. He was a tight end in the 60s. And his coach was George Halas, the owner of the Bears. So he was a perfect pick to give a shot at letting him coach for the first time when he had never coached before. And I thought that was one of the greatest moves the Bears ever made. So that was a good thing. So that is one of the exceptions, but wait till you hear the other list, okay? There was one other coach that had never been a head coach before, and we hired him as a first-time head coach, and that was Lovie Smith. And Lovie Smith had a record of 81 and 63. He took us to a Super Bowl. He took us to the playoffs. I liked Lovie. But then at the end, I don't know, something happened with him. The last 2 years when he was with the Bears, he started getting full of himself. I don't know, he changed. And something must have happened because with a winning record, most teams don't fire you unless something's going on. So something had to go on behind the scenes for the Bears to have fired him with that record because the players loved him. They really did. Lovey, in case you don't know, is the college coach for the Illinois team, the Illinois college team, the Illini. And he's trying to turn that program around. He's having a problem, but they love him down there. He just can't get the recruits. He's kind of in the double-edged sword. Until you win, you can't get the recruits, and you can't win until you have the recruits. Okay, so those 2 coaches, we're going to give them, they were okay. But the Bears hired 4 other, so 6 coaches from the early 80s to now, that coaches that had never coached before. That was a first-time head coaching job. And I'll never, ever forget what I heard Dave Wanstead. Remember Dave Wanstead? He sucked. His record was 40 and 56 with the Bears. After he got fired, I think he took a year off, and then he became the Miami Dolphins coach. And when he became the Miami Dolphins head coach, he made a comment like, yeah, I learned a lot in Chicago. I cut my teeth. That's how I learned to be a head coach. Yeah, great. Screw you, Wanstead. So you learn it and you leave, and then, although, you know what, turns out he wasn't good because he got fired after a few years, and now he's doing TV analysis for college games on Saturdays. So Wannstedt was a first-time head coach. Then we had, as I said, Lovie Smith, but he was good. Then we had Dick Duran. Remember him? He looked like everybody's grandpa, didn't he? Just a little younger, but he pretty much looked like everybody's grandpa. His record was 35-45. Another first-time head coach. Terrible, terrible. He looked like he was afraid of his own shadow, in my opinion, but whatever. And then my particular favorite, Mark Tressman. Oh my God, where did they find this guy? His record was 13-19. As you can see, he didn't last very long. And I hate to say this, but when his hat was not on, he looked like a child predator. He creeped me out completely. Another first time head coach. And that guy, out of all of them, had no business doing it. Now, I know then he went to he hopped around the NFL as offensive coordinators because that's his thing, offense. And then he went to Canada, and I believe he's I don't know if he still is, but he might be still. He was a head coach in one of the Canada teams. So, but oh my God, he was terrible. And I told you, without the hat, woo, scary child predator. And then, of course, the last one is Matt Nagy, who was hired without ever being a head coach, too. And his record currently is 21-12. But that's going to be changing, as we know. So, my point is here that I'm not big on hiring coaches that have never been a coach before. Of course, they got to start somewhere. I get that. Let them start with another team, not with the Bears. We want to win now. So that's why I say, George McCaskey, come on, man. You know we're like this. I think you should really look at Chuck, and I think you should give it to Chuck. It's a win-win. You keep him for defense. The players like him. He's already familiar. I say let's do it. You know what? And if it don't work out, you know what? Then you fire him in a couple years. Because if you bring somebody new in, completely new, just think about it. We've got a good core of guys there, except for the offensive line. And the one thing is, I've heard a lot of people, I watch a lot of football on the show, and they always say, gotta have a quarterback, gotta have a quarterback, gotta have a quarterback, gotta have a running back, gotta have a running back, which is true. But I got to thinking about this. I think in some ways the offensive line trumps both the quarterback and the running back. Because, let me say it before you're like, what is she talking about? Without a good offensive line, you can't run the ball. And your quarterback can't really set back and pass and do what he needs to do. So that's two major things you can't do without a good offensive line. Now, if you had a good offensive line and your quarterback was he'd still be able to perform. And if you had a running back, same thing. So as a quarterback is the essential to the team, I agree. But sometimes I look at it as, no, I think the offensive line is more important. And then you fill in the quarterback and your running back. And then it all works. So the offensive line, hugely important. So, and Chuck Pagano has seen what's gone on here. So he's seeing it firsthand. He's hearing stuff behind the scenes. I vote Chuck. So let me know what you guys all think. I told you, we had all those first-time coaches. No, we don't want no more first-time coaches. See, Nagy, I think he could be a good head coach. I really do. I think he still has some learning to do. Number one, he's got to learn to be more flexible. I know he wants to be the next Andy Reid, but there's only one Andy Reid. And you can't, everybody's different. And I'm pretty sure Andy's flexible. Problem with Nagy is, and I've said it a million times, it's his way or no way. That's why Mitchell is screwed up. He tried to make Mitchell somebody he's not, and now look what happened. And Nagy, he's still got some maturing to do into the job. And so I'd like to see him go somewhere else and learn how to do that because I'm done with him. I just don't think he's the answer. And I really hope that they play Mitchell the rest of the season if he's healthy. Because let's face it, Foles sucks. I knew he wasn't that hurt on that last game, that Monday game where they put him on the cart and they wheeled him off. He made it look like he was really hurt. He wasn't. He has a hip pointer. You can walk off the field with a hip pointer. I've seen guys walk off the field with broken ankles, torn ACLs. So, Foles, quit being a pussy. You know what I'm saying? That cart right there just showed you. We're done with him. So that's why I think Chuck should be our coach. No more first-time head coaches. We need people with experience. We want to go to a Super Bowl and win it. Like I said in last show, Virginia McCaskey is 97 years old. I'm 62 years old. I want to see one before I go. And she certainly wants to see a win before she goes. So, what do you guys think? Let me know what you think. And I just want to thank all the people that watched the last show. And I think it would be a really good idea. One of the viewers asked me how I wrote George McCaskey. I looked up the address online to the Chicago Bears Lake Forest headquarters is where he is, and that's where they practice. And that's where I mailed each week the letter, handwritten on the envelope. And I'm going to write a letter this week, and I'm going to start doing it again. So I think all of the people who watch this show should write George McCaskey. And make sure you write, "Attention, George McCaskey." You can even write in parentheses, "I heard you care." Might get his attention. And if you want to, not a lot of people got patience for this, I'd mail him every week or every other week until you get an answer. Or we hear something that's positive, okay? So let's all get our pen. You don't have to write it by hand. You can type it out on your computer or you can write it by hand. But let's do it, all right? But again, thank you for watching, and I appreciate all the support. I really, really do. Somebody wrote me the other day and said I made a faux pas on 2 shows ago where I said that Danny Tervation got an interception along with Mac on the 2 turnovers on the Monday night game. I made a mistake. Danny got a punch out and he fumbled. He punched it out, it fumbled, he got the ball back. Mac got the interception. So I apologize for that. But again, brain is pickled. Okay, I'm 62, pickled, and I partied a lot. Can't you tell? All right, everybody. I don't know about where you are living. Most of you probably Illinois. Vegas, they're put down pretty strict. We're on the next 3 closer to lockdown this time. We're on a mini lockdown for 2 weeks now. We're closer to a full lockdown again if people don't do what the governor said. So everybody stay safe, stay healthy, love one another, help people out if they need it. And again, thank you for supporting me. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And if I can bring a smile to your face, again, tell me this don't make you laugh. All right, babies. You guys keep on rocking and rolling. I'll see you on Friday's show. We're going to go over the Bears and the Packers game. And rock and roll from Vegas, baby. Bye-bye.